Hi and welcome to our YouTube channel. First sort of video we're going to put up. We've been filming for quite a while now, probably nearly a year. Seems like it's a good idea, good form of advertising, which is why we wanted to start a channel. Showing what we can do. So it's out for our garage business. We've literally just set an MOT station up, so there's just a few videos on it. I've been filming a few jobs that we've done over, like I say, over about a year. We thought we'd just put a channel up. Some people seem to be quite interested, and it seems to be quite a good way of getting working. And also, I think it can help show a little bit of clarity in your business, a bit of people can see what you're about and what you're doing, and I think that does sometimes build up a bit more trust. Not sure on how we're going to sort of push the channel, whether we're going to be solely the jobs we're doing, mechanical and electrical diagnosis and stuff, or whether we're going to push through a few videos on like the business, running the business, what it's like, the strengths and struggles of it all. So just thought we'd throw a video up, start a channel, and go from there. I'm not sure which video you're going to start off seeing, because most of the videos that we will be putting up, at least to begin with, have been filmed over, like I say, the last year. So I'm not sure what order they're going to be in, but most of what you're going to be seeing first off is not going to be after this video. It's been recorded before, so we'll see how we get on. And if you're interested, comment what sort of things you'd like to see, whether it's starting the business. I mean, we're quite a relatively new business here. I've been self-employed for quite a long time, but it's quite a sort of the last 2-3 years taking on staff and a premises, and certainly new to taking on an MOT base. So I suppose you can see a little bit of the journey, because it's still early days. Hope you enjoy it and comment what you want to see, and give us a share if you can.
Right, so we've got a 2018 Land Rover Velar here, and it basically is coming as a non-start, won't start, and it's got a few lights on the dashboard, so I will show you what it's doing. So you go and start it, and it just switches the ignition off. That wasn't me, so do it again. Just switches the ignition off. Now, I had a bit of a guess with this one straight away, because I sort of have seen this before. Now, I suspected either a ghost immobiliser or I've seen it before, and I'll just show you up the top there. There's the SOS button and the Land Rover assist button, and they're both blank. So I have had this before on a Jaguar. The telematics control module goes down, and I will show you how we are going to try and diagnose it. It was stuck on the truck, got it off the truck, jumped the start motor relay, and it started. The car started. That's quite important, like I say, but I'll show you what we're going to do to try and look into this. Oh, just to add to that, we've seen the telematics control modules go down before, cause this very similar fault, and there'll be some parameters on live data that if the telematics control module is not talking to the rest of the car, will throw up this fault, and it will throw up some of the start authorizations will be off. So I'm just doing a code scan. The only thing I would say is the Jaguar, they used to let water in the door, and then that's what killed the modules. The modules, I think, are fairly reliable other than that. So there we go. The other thing is it's coming up SOS system unavailable, lights are off, so I sort of had half an idea. But then I'll take you through the code scan now. So we've got a load of fault codes. We've got bus E off, communication bus missing message on the bus D, this, that and the other. Now, I know the telematics is on the bus D, so yeah, we've got some sort of good idea here where we're going. The only strange thing is the left hand side restraint sensor is open, and so's the right one. Now that is making me think that we've got wiring issues here, or maybe we've got rodent damage or something. We've got no communication to the telematics control unit, which is what I suspected. And if we go into the BCM and go into the live data, there will be Now, just a note, when you're using aftermarket tools such as this one, it can be a bit confusing sometimes, because so these crank determination factors, some of these probably won't be part of it. See this brake pressure, okay? Now I'm pushing as hard as I can, that's not changing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I don't think this car's looking for that. I think it's got it fitted, it doesn't matter. So you do have to be a little bit careful. But if we go, the TCU target's stored, and then that target verify is false. And I do know that needs to be changing, and some of these security target, some of the other things need to be on as well. So it's detecting the key, okay. See, this is where you get confused. In park, no. Neutral, yes, it is in park, but the neutral, it's more looking for a neutral switch. The other thing to note is there's a pull underneath the bonnet to get it into neutral. That's broken, so it was a nightmare to get it off the truck. But there we go. But yeah, this one is the one I'm looking for. So this is the one I've seen before. But because we've got that and that airbag fault, behind the passenger side, in the boot passenger side, there's the telematics control module, and you've also got wires, the loom that runs up for the crash sensors, and yeah, the left one's there and the right one. So what we're going to do is a first step, we need to get to that telematics control module. We can't communicate with it. We should be able to communicate with it. We can't. The SOS lights are dead, so we're going to strip the boot out, and then I'll cut in and show you what we found.
Right, it's a bit hard to see because half this video got missing, but there's a few chewed wires behind the panels for the seats. This is the panel in the boot. Here's a few of the modules that we were trying to get to, and the telematics control module, which had powers and grounds but didn't have the CAN bus wires connected properly. There's where the mouse had chewed the wires for the CAN bus for the telematics and some of the airbag plugs. Right, so I've just bridged those two wires there. It's not the appropriate wire that we're going to use, but we'll bridge that and then see if the car starts, which I suspect it will. Let's go and have a look. Right, so ignition on. Oh, yeah, fired up. Okay, I was going to show you the SOS light coming on first, but I didn't get a chance. So yeah, that was the fix there. Obviously we've still got airbag lights on, so what we'll do now is go through the car, because there's some other faults. I think there's a few other things chewed. So yeah, we'll go through and try and find where all the bite marks are. The sensor obviously on the left is fairly easy, but the one on the right is not. And I suspect they've actually gone all the way through the car here, so it's going to be a bit of fun to find it all. But we'll crack on, we'll get some appropriate wire, and we'll solder those two joins up first, because at least it's a lot easier to move the car. Right, so we're just going around the car here, just finding more and more places where they'd been. This is obviously under the bonnet, but they'd gone through. We can see I don't know what they're scourging seats or something. They chewed all the rubbers, all the foam underneath it. This was an airbag plug and a cheeky takeaway order. That was the other side of the airbag plug. And then this was just in the boot. Unfortunately, so we've got photos because I cannot find the video footage. This was one of the seat adjuster plugs. Both of them have been chewed. There's more wires, and then they're just coming into the repair. So we've actually used different colour heat shrink and everything, so it just looks factory. It looks a lot neater. And then this was just taping up the repair where the two CAN bus wires for the telematics control unit was chewed. And like I say, it's such a shame because there was, in total, I think there was about 23 wires we repaired on this car. Just trying to make it look as factory as possible. And then these little cable clips, what I do is where I've cut that to get to the wiring, I'll just cut that excess cable tie off and put a whole new cable tie on it, just so it all retains the factory fittings. So just a bit further on, so this is the right hand one now. So what I've done, I've popped the wire out. There's a little bit of wire left on, and we're just soldering some wire to it.
There was enough wire here to make a good connection. One side point, I suppose, this is an airbag wire, so sometimes some people can get a bit funny about soldering wires for airbags. Obviously they do carry a bit of current. I mean, personally I can't see it ever really been a problem, but it's, you know, it is something worth noting. Obviously if you get a bad solder joint, is the airbag going to go off? Well, this is just a sensor wire, so this doesn't really carry any current, so it's not actually detonating anything, so it's not going to be pulling much of a current through, so I'm absolutely fine with a solder joint on here. So we're just going to do the other side and then solder it into the car. And this was the final scan. You can see all green other than that IPMB, which was a headlight module fault, which was there before this happened anyway. You can see the 3 grey ones. For example, that one at the bottom is a tow bar module and the car just doesn't have it fitted. So yeah, again, because it's an aftermarket tool, you just got to be careful and don't get sucked into not communicating with something that the car doesn't actually have in the first place. And the car's back together. Just needs a quick hoover out now. Try and look at the registration number in. All back together. And no faults on the dash other than the headlight fault, which we haven't been asked to look into. So, yeah, another one all done. Right, so we've got a Mitsubushi in as well with an ABS fault. And the guy said he'd put a new sensor in one side and asked us to have a look at it 'cause it's not working. It's had some pads on it by the look of it at some point recently, but what the fault actually is there's nothing for this ABS sensor to clip into. It threw me at first because I couldn't work out where it fit in, and then I realised there's a metal ring around it, which you can sort of see in the bottom of that. Is it going to focus? Which you can see there, and it's pretty much rotten away. So I'll show you the new bearings when they're out, but that's the problem. The ABS sensor isn't getting a reading. It does get a reading on live data when you wiggle the sensor against the new bearing. It does get a reading, so we know the sensors are okay, which is good. Right, so there's the old one and the new one. So that's the clip that the ABS sensor fits into. And there is the old one, and the frustrating thing is, just for that clip, which does look like it would come off, I can't seem to buy it separately. Mitsubushi certainly don't sell it separately, but you've got this ABS ring here, which, to be fair, looks a little bit chewed up in a couple of places. But also, one thing I did notice is the bearing did feel like it had a tiny bit of play. This has got a lot more in it now, so you can't really, where I've slide hammered this off, it's got a lot more play in it, so it's kind of a poor judge, but it did have a tiny bit of play in it. So yeah, so maybe we've fixed a future problem that was coming up, but we'll get this hub cleaned up here where it's sort of seized in. We'll clean all this up, put a bit of grease around it, and get it back in. Right, so we just cleaned the face up and put a small bit of aluminium grease around the edge and on the drive shaft splines, and a very small bit just on the edge of that flange. Obviously it goes onto this plate anyway, so they don't tend to seize, but just like to do it. And then we'll clean these brake pads up, and we'll just put a tiny bit of aluminium grease on the sliders while we're there. Caliper looks all right, although it's a little bit twisted from where it's had pads done, so we'll just straighten that and let the air out of the piston. So we'll put a little pick in between, little plastic pick in between the rubber and the piston, and what we'll do when we pull that out, it will let the air escape, and that bulge in it will disappear. The audio cut out here, but this was the ring. This is where the ABS sensor sits. So the car came in with fault codes for ABS sensors, but it's important to note or know what the fault codes actually mean, because you can see here this ABS sensor is supposed to clip into place, and because it wasn't clipped into place, it wasn't picking up the magnetic reading from the bearing pickup, and so it was then throwing ABS sensor codes because the ECU, with its best guess, decided that was probably the fault with the car. It wasn't a circuit fault code, it was just saying that it didn't have any readings, so it presumed that there was an ABS sensor fault. But yeah, so the fault code doesn't actually tell you what's wrong with the car. It's just its best guess, if that makes sense.
Right, so obviously we're not bothered by the wheel bearing, so I don't mind damaging it even further, but you'd never do that on one that you wanted to keep, and that is not that isn't moving. It's pretty solid. We've got a massive hooked slide hammer here. Now there is an adapter for the hub on these, but we cannot find it, so I've ordered another one. So I'm not using this properly, but just to show again, because this is a heavy old slide hammer, just again, it is not budging at all. So what we're going to do, we are going to use this air chisel attachment on the air hammer, and purely we're going to put it here like so, and we're just going to try and spin it, and you watch. I mean, we were beating the other side for a while. It was just as easy as this side, so you see how easy that comes out just with an air chisel. And I don't know if that's going to show on video. I'll have to move the tripod and right. See just how easy that rotates. And just with a little tap from a little hammer now, that will come straight out.
So thank you for watching our first ever YouTube video. Like I say, not sure how it's going to go in the future. One of those videos was recorded about a month ago, and some of them were recorded. That other one was recorded nearly a year ago. So we're going to try and pick and choose. Hopefully we'll be able to make a little bit of a storyline. But yeah, let us know what you thought. Let us know if there's anything else you'd like to see, and hopefully we'll see you again on the next one.